how should you be measured in your view? How should be you measured as city mayor?
Me?
Yeah.
What would be my claim to?
If you want to say something about that.
Ako, we can sum it up to.
This episode is powered by DTX 500 and Clinica D3 Bio.
How does it feel to be back in Congress?
Different, no? Kay sa local government, you're hands-on 24/7. When you go to Congress, then you look at more macro level, and you have like to craft legislation, resolution, and forming policies that are national in scope. So it takes longer. Yan yan, sa local yan, mas dasig, mas uptick ka dapat. Andrea, you have more long-term solutions that you find to be put in place.
I'll go to your term as city mayor for one 3-year term, ano. I know it's difficult to do a self-assessment, pero are you less frustrated now in Congress than when you were mayor? Because I know as a corporate person, you decide fast.
Yes.
Were you ever frustrated as city mayor?
Even as a city mayor, there are things that are taking so long. Di ba? Ang bureaucratic natin. So I've been finding ways on how to reduce it. And I share the same sentiment as DILG Secretary Remulla, John Vic Remulla, nga sige kadamo nga ginapirmahan ng mga local government chief executive nga you don't have any first-hand information anyway. So all of these bureaucratic red tapes are adding to corruption, are adding to the delay, and adding to the frustration. So the move there, well, the solution was really to go digital, to go put intelligent systems in place so that it doesn't become human-to-human contact. For example, no, we've been forcing business permit to go digital. Ang atong nga OBO, we are forcing to go digital. Less face-to-face interaction, there should be less corruption, no? And if they will tamper with a software or with a system, there will always be a digital footprint nga hapos i-audit.
But how would you describe this complaint nga gin-file sa imo before the ombudsman? Although I know
it's political.
Ang complainant is dead already.
Yes, I heard. So how do I describe it? It's political.
Political.
It's the first time. Tanan man kasulod di sa Bacolod cannot escape ombudsman cases.
And the complainant was actually a black timer of your political opponent.
Exactly. So you can trace already where it's coming from. No public official in Bacolod can escape the norm of your opponents politically harassing you.
Although wala physically, may ginapatay sa Bacolod. I mean, at least that's the history of Bacolod. Pero may ginapatay lang nga dungog. Kag gina-murder ka lang kung kaisa sa propaganda.
Yes.
How did you find the last elections?
We made a point not to answer and not to launch a negative campaign. No? In hindsight, we should have answered a little bit more. No? Salinganin nila, you know, a lie told 1,000 times becomes now perceived fact or truth. So,
A lie repeated 1,000 times sometimes becomes the truth.
well, the perceived truth, no?
Perceived.
So we should have at least maybe answered some of them, no? And really well narrated the facts on those cases that they were saying. But nonetheless, I think we were redeemed by the results of the election.
What issues in particular, sir?
Yeah, well, corruption from mga projects, di ba? They're saying that
Land banking.
from land banking, ining high data PPP project, mga iban pa da. But you know, from day one, I did not keep anything hidden. Tanan nila, when we talk sa media, when we got the loan, it was all there. It was transparent, no? But still, they would go to a certain extent to claim otherwise.
Was this the most intense campaign period nga based on the issues hurled against you, from political to personal?
Well, in a sense, sang 2022, I was coming from the private sector, so there was nothing to speak of, no? So, ang incumbent naman to ang may problema. But I never did a negative campaign. I never filed a case against my opponents. Right? So, dali lang yan. I think it's the norm of some politicians, no? Maybe past politicians to keep filing cases as if, hindi man na magdulot eh.
Do you think sometimes sa Bacolod, the political temper is so different nga it seems as if you are running for a public position, ang qualifications required of you is sometimes more stringent than that required of the Pope?
Well, I would rise to the occasion to say yes and welcome. It's a welcome attitude, no? Because it keeps our public officials on their toes, and I don't mind that. No, that's the reason why we have proposed to have a flood control summit para open, di ba?
Flood control summit.
Yes, we're thinking of having a flood control summit where ang tanan ng mga plano coming from DPWH, itong bureau nga you just mentioned, and the city engineering can be seen by the public and criticize and amend, propose, revise kung anong gusto nila, no? Hindi lang tapos ng project amo pa lang na reklamo nila. So we're now saying, okay, we'll have a different approach. We will now say, tanan, ariyang proposed project, ano ang inyong sentiments ni, ano ang inyong gusto matabo.
So this would harmonize efforts of the city government, your office, and other government agencies.
And the general public. And mga stakeholders. Kaya I'm sure they have some information to contribute that can probably guide our flood control master plan to the proper direction.
One of those who was very vocal in defending you shortly after you won, si former Congressman Monico Puentevella. He told me nga ang issues nga gina-raise against you are largely personal. It's because when it came out that you were one of those being eyed as Speaker of the House, doon nagtuhaw ang issues against you. Would you care to say something about that?
Well, the timing is questionable. Nga daw gulpi na lang all of this came out during the time when we were approaching election, when we were being discussed sa Congress as a possible hindi mag-ally sa existing majority, no? So because of that, you can sense nga subong na nagwa.
Mm-hmm. But then tapos na ang election sang Speaker of the House, and apparently you were not one of those who ran against the current Speaker.
There was no person who challenged the Speaker. But let's see, because we are going towards an audit and investigation of mga projects done during the 2025 budget. So, well, let's see where that leads to.
Interesting. So these investigations of flood control projects could somehow shift the center of leadership inside the House, possibly.
Of course, if there is connection that it was manipulated or handled by a certain group.
I would understand, because in order to get projects as big as this, you should have access to funds.
Yes.
And if you don't have access to the leadership,
exactly. So that's the reason why we're asking for those minutes of those small group committee. We're asking for documentation on how the funds were appropriated last 2025.
I'll go to some local issues, and Kong. Bacolod is a growing city. We are now more than 500,000. Do you think it's time, and would you push for the reapportionment sang syudad into 2 districts?
Yes, I'll be filing that bill.
You would?
Yes.
And
Inuna ta lang ang ano, no? So, I prioritize ang mga legislation that I feel are more attuned to the needs of the people, no? Kay we have so many laws kadamo na nga laying agin pasar, no? It's not a question of having more laws for us to feel the benefit of these programs. So we are now focusing on, let's say, food, no, on how to sustain the program of the 20 pesos per kilo nga rice, how to rationalize and bring down the cost of electricity, how to etc. No, we are now focusing on that, and as I will be filing more resolutions in aid of legislation. So hindi lang anay bill, no. We will ask this department, so what went wrong and what went right. And once we have identified those things, and then we'll just say, then why don't it's implemented more.
This episode is brought to you by Falcor Marketing Corporation, Grace Pharmacy, and Park Inn by Radisson Bacolod.
I have noticed some issues nga largely drowned out by the political noise and the recent issue about the flood control projects. Actually, tatlo na eh. And it's all involving the youth. Number one, ang PSA report that 18 million Filipinos are
35.
18 million, I think, are functionally illiterate. That's number one. Number two, according to the chairman herself, alarming ang kadamuon sang Pinoy or college graduates who have a diploma but cannot get jobs because they lack the soft skills. And number three, of course, would be the proposal of Senator Robin to decrease the age of criminal liability to 10 years old. Initially, anong imong take?
I think the solution there, yung first part of your question, is really TESDA. TESDA has the funds, the mandate to ensure that the employability sa mga graduates naton, particularly or undergraduates naton, mas mahapos to find a job. So they have a program right now that integrates industry participation to be able to get more employment involved. No? Sang una, you train people. For example, kadamo kita training eh. Every time there's a government program, it's about training, it's about seminar. Ang aton nga mga tupad kag mga ano, they're all training, short-term training courses. But the question is, once you train them, where will they work? Right? Kung hindi kita clear sang ilang job availability, then we're training these people for nothing. So what TESTA is doing is they ask the industry, sino ang inyong kinahanglan? Ano ang inyong kinahanglan? And then once they identify that, that's the time you train. Right? So even the courses, amo na yung program subong, no? Ang year hire program sang TESTA, which is industry-led. So even the industry's training, the training program is even supervised or approved by the industries. So ang target sila is almost 80 to 90% employment after you are trained. Kay ano ka na mo? You have already been identified. You have identified a possible working place for you when you finish.
Would that put private schools out of business? I mean, we don't need a diploma anyway.
No. Well, private schools will still be there. No, they will have their own market reach in terms of employment for their students. No? But TESDA can really make this mismatching of skill set lessen by coordinating all of this industry.
Although what's very interesting is that hindi sila kapangita jobs because of the lack of soft skills, discipline, comprehension, critical thinking. That is according to the CHED chief.
Well, then that starts from
Home.
right. And so you need DepEd now to upgrade their quality of education to be able to address that issue. But what I hear is this is the first time that CHED, DepEd, and TESDA are working together closely, no, in reforming our educational system for us to have more effective human ability or human talent.
It's very interesting, Kong, because ang ginapaminsar mo is how to lessen the turnaround time. I mean, for example, for you to get a job, I'll take this as an example. For you to become a reporter, if we follow the usual route, you have to take a four-year course. And then it's not even sure kung mag-reporter ka gid o kung hindi. But with TESDA, you can perhaps narrow the gap to from education to profession in only a matter of months.
Correct.
Perhaps.
Correct. So amo na, no? So the program right now before I left City Hall, no, was mga BPO industries, no, would gather ang mga near hire nilang mga applicants. Mga jutay na lang gid kinahanglan nila, they would have been hired. So these applicants will now be trained by TESDA, okay, so that they will have they would pass, no, the criteria for employment sa mga BPO. And I think all BPO companies in Bacolod have subscribed to this program. And based sa estimate nila, we're looking at almost 8,000 near hires nga masulod sa programa nga so that they can have jobs, no, after the training sessions ng TESDA.
I'll go to hyper-local issues, but I'm not going to ask you about any personal stuff. All right. One, how would you assess Mayor Greg so far? Your friend and
good.
your colleague.
So far, okay. No, he is hands-on. He has done some of the things that we have left off, no, nga wala na implement. For example, ang mga bago nga traffic lights, no, that was actually in the pipeline galing because of the procurement system, kagang election period, wala na tigayon, wala na implement. But right after that, he did that. No, he's now attending to the concerns of the city, and I see him. You know, I see him. So,
I know it's difficult to measure yourself, pero how should you be measured in your view? How should you measured as city mayor?
me?
Yeah.
What would be my claim to?
If you want to say something about that.
Ako, we can sum it up to the change of governance. For how many decades, City Hall was run by the same culture, the same governance style, and then the same issues that people have always been cognizant about. No?
How would you describe that culture?
Well, political decisions are priority. In other words, they choose those that are allied to them politically. No? So when I came in, I made sure that there's no color coding. In a sense, if you did not vote for me, it doesn't matter as long as you perform, or as long as, let's say, for beneficiaries naman, it is needed. No? We made sure that people went to work.
Yes.
Right? As you can remember, mga TV to nga ginano ta, and I've been encouraging them to take this as a job that is not just 9 to 5. No? Sometimes it requires the extra mile because you're in public office. So some of these things that we have started, they have broken the chain of how it was because sulit-sulit lang eh. You know, after one camp wins, it's exactly the same culture, it's exactly the same system, but different people. Kung magdaog naman yung piyak, it's the same thing, but different people.
So can we say it's from Pamulitika to Panghimanwa?
Yes.
All right. Anyway, what's more in store for Bacoleños now that you are back in Congress?
Well, we will continue the vision of being a super city by ensuring that the needed resources and support from the national government are brought here to the city of Bacolod. No? So one of the reasons why I decided and we agreed to shift to switch sa amo ni Mayor Greg ngayon sa Sabong is because I would be able to have better access to resources and support from the national government and maybe even the international community to fast track the development of Bacolod to a super city.
This is our first day on our 7th year, diri sa DNX, and you are our first guest.
Wow.
Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you again.
This episode is powered by DTX 500 and Clinica D3 Bio.